चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे सत्यमयी परमे सत्यमयी परमे सत्यं ज्ञानं सत्यं ज्ञानं ज्योतिररविन्द ज्योतिररविन्द ज्योतिररविन्द. If we look at what each of us sitting here is, it's not one band or one frequency. We go back to the metaphor of the electromagnetic spectrum. Vibgyor is our waking state, white light. Infrared is like our subconscient, and ultraviolet is like our superconscious. So we are this whole band. Now, in waking state, there's constantly an influx from the subconscious and there's a descent from the superconscious. Yeah? So, our waking state is a mixture of what comes from above, from superconscious, and what comes from the subconscious. And Sri Aurobindo has said again and again that everything in our yoga, whatever we achieve, gets completely reversed if the light doesn't go all the way down to the subconscious. Because whatever progress we make, if there's an uprising from the subconscious, that's again wiped out again and again. And Mother's written about a phenomena called subconscious pessimism, which is this dark mood that comes into us, for which we can't explain. We just feel a kind of gloominess, a kind of low, but we can't exactly put our finger on why we are feeling it. And the Mother calls this subconscious pessimism. So it's very important to bring down the light of the superconscious all the way down to the subconscious, and in that sense clean out the subconscious, which is a very difficult work, but we have to make our beginning somewhere. A Mother did say that in 1956, when there was the descent of the supramental light, she said waves and waves of the subconscious came and swallowed it up. So it's there in the subconscious, and from there we have to make it more and more conscious. Okay, so that's what really we'll look at today. So we start with Sri Aurobindo's talk, mention of an idea which is called the dark persona or the evil persona. Sri Aurobindo elaborates on the phenomenon where individuals, especially those with significant spiritual potential, often encounter a dark double or opposing force. So what Sri Aurobindo is saying is that if I carry a very special light in me, I'll also carry its shadow. For example, he says that very often a person can be extremely generous, for instance, but he'll have a shadow in him which will make him very stingy at times. Or if I have a potential for great oneness, my shadow will be a sense of exaggerated superiority or inferiority, which is the opposite of oneness. So that's called our dark persona, the light in us that casts an equal and opposite shadow. And the lodging place for that shadow is often in our subconscious mind, the subconscious. I can't make a sweeping statement like that for everything we have a dark shadow. But as Sri Aurobindo says, that if we have a very special purpose to fulfill in this life, we carry a light to fulfill it. But in the play of existence, that light casts an equal and opposite shadow. Yeah? So that, yeah?
Direct opposition is the genius of nature.
Yes.
So every man carries the light and darkness both in oneself.
Yes, yes, yes. And Mother once said something quite startling. She said, a transformed asura is more precious to God than the original light. A bit of darkness which has been transformed to light in evolution has a greater role to play than something that was already light and didn't have to descend into darkness. So every time a darkness changes to light, it becomes very, very powerful, a very powerful force of light. So that's what Sri Aurobindo, it's a very beautiful concept that if we have some very deep darkness in us, we should know that we carry an equal and opposite light. And the purpose in this existence is to transform that shadow to the light, not stay stuck in the shadow. So now I found Carl Jung, the modern, not so modern, but I found his words very, very useful in understanding what Mother and Sri Aurobindo say about the shadow. So Carl Jung says, man on the whole is less good than he imagines himself or wants to be. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's consciousness, life, the blacker and denser it is. That means the less I'm conscious of it, the more dense and dark it is. So Carl Jung often quoted his patience of somebody who prided himself on being very calm and suddenly had an outburst of rage which he couldn't understand. And he asked that where did this come from? So the point is, he was never calm. He was just somebody who kept suppressing his emotions and anger, making the shadow more and more dense and dark. Or for example, if somebody prides himself on never feeling inferior because he feels arrogant and superior, it's very possible that he has a very deep suppressed emotion of inferiority, which the arrogance and the superiority is just a mask for it. So the shadow has different ways in hiding in us. So Carl Jung is saying that the less embodied it is in the individual's consciousness, means the less it shows itself in its conscious mind, the blacker and denser it is. So at least if we are aware of it, it's not so dark. So the key to changing the shadow is to bring awareness to it. If we are not only aware of it, for example, an arrogant person stops at thinking I'm arrogant and doesn't look deeper, maybe to the hidden shadow of inferiority, then he's a toy in the hands of the arrogance. He can't deal with it. He has to find the root of it. No noble, well-grown tree ever disowned its dark roots, Carl Jung says, for it grows not only upwards but downwards as well. A noble, well-grown tree will never disown its dark roots. So if we are a noble, well-grown tree, our nobility comes from not disowning our shadow, but sitting with it, bringing it to light and showing it its truth. Then Carl Jung says, life has always seemed to me like a plant that lives on its rhizome. Rhizome is an underground stem. its true life is invisible, hidden in the rhizome. The part that appears above ground lasts only a single summer, then it withers away, an ephemeral apparition. I found this very, very beautiful if you understand it. So each of us is like that rhizome. The real cause of our life, our reaction is underground in the subconscious. And what you see above ground, it withers, it comes and goes. But the eternal, in Savitri, there's a beautiful line, the eternal seed of transient things. So that rhizome below is like the eternal seed of transient things. It keeps sprouting different ways of being, different personalities, different reactions. But the seed is underground. For example, if I my shadow becomes most visible in my closest relationships, sometimes with my friends, but more often with my family, because I'm living under the roof with them. So if I have recurrent patterns of arguments with all family members, that's my shadow self showing itself. For example, if my shadow self is, I'm always being blamed and criticized no matter what I do. And if that's a recurring theme of my arguments with everyone, then that's my rhizome. That's the eternal seed of transient thing. That's my source. Now, when it arises, I'll blame maybe my husband, my wife, my child, whatever. You're causing it. You're blaming me. But Carl Jung is saying, wait, if this is a recurrent pattern with everyone, don't look at the surface tree. Look at the rhizome from which it's coming. The real life is what's happening inside you. You're unfolding inside out. You think things are happening to you from outside, which is making you a certain way. But the real thing is, life is emerging from inside you and then attracting events to you. So if I have a person in my life who's all the time expressing angry outbursts at me, I've attracted it because I'm somebody who's in the habit of suppressing emotions. Yeah? Or if I have somebody who keeps negating me, he's just locking into my deeper imprint of where I don't feel worthwhile and good enough. So it's beautiful. We feel people are randomly happening to us. But again, in Savitri, there's that line, there's a meaning in every curve and line. No person is in our life without a meaning. Because I have a victim magnet in my subconscious, I attract an oppressor. There's that beautiful poem, cowardice cries to stormy skies. If I'm a coward, I'll attract stormy skies. Coldness to water. If I'm already cold, I'll attract water to make me more cold. Cowardice cries to stormy skies, coldness to water, obedience to a master. If I'm somebody very servile and like a doormat, I'll keep attracting people to be my masters and dominate me. So it's not happening to me from outside. It's the blueprint I'm carrying within me that's constantly attracting different people, different circumstances into my life. And if I change that blueprint into me, my outside naturally will change. So Mother once beautifully says that, now don't take her words as sweeping statements, because always she spoke to a sadhak in a context. So don't make it a generalization, but she did once say, come here. She did once say that a parameter for your spiritual growth is also your outer life. The more you grow inwardly, the more your life outside blossoms. So that poem, Cowardice Cries to Stormy Skies. So if I'm a coward inside, I'll attract stormy skies. But if I change that blueprint of being a coward I won't need to attract, I won't by default attract the stormy skies. So everything is about us inside. There's nobody to blame outside, and there's nobody to blame inside us also, because if we are controlled by our subconscious mind without any awareness, how can we even blame ourselves? We don't even know what forces are pulling us. So there's nobody to blame, period. Not ourselves, not people outside. What's important is to bring consciousness to pockets of unhappiness. I keep saying this, if we are evolutionary beings, when pain comes, instead of blaming ourselves or others, sit with the pain and ask, why have you come? What do I need to grow? What do I need to learn? You've come as a wake-up call to make me change something inside me. What is that? Okay? Again, you will be interested. We are discussing Carl Jung. Oh no, your subject is not psychology. Okay. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Life has always seemed to me like a plant that lives on its rhizome, underground stem. Its true life is invisible, hidden in the rhizome. The part that appears above ground, that is our surface, is what you see, lasts only a single summer, then withers away. An ephemeral apparition. Some more beautiful quotes of Jung. Now he says the shadow isn't evil. Now Jung says, let's be clear what he's calling the shadow. He says as we grow up, we are always told by our parents, this is good, this is bad, school, whatever. We grow up with a gamut of emotions and we are taught that this emotion is wrong. So I do my best to suppress it or not show it. Now if I do this over a period of time, that suppressed, unprocessed emotion goes into my subconscious as my shadow, and I cannot, and it keeps coming up from the past to poison a perfectly beautiful present moment. The present moment can be beautiful, but if I project a shadow from the past on it, that same moment can get very, very poisoned. So I had a student who said that I don't know what it is with me, but I just can't take it when anyone is terminally ill and is about to pass on. I go crazy. So when we worked with it, it started when she was a young girl and they were in a car and their car met with an accident and her father died. And her mother later told her that it's because of you that your father died, because he turned the direction of the car in a way to save you and he was hit. So she carried guilt, and I asked her, if you go back to that time when that accident happened, what were your emotions? So she said, I felt very angry at myself and at life, and I felt very guilty. So now when anyone's terminally ill, her shadow comes up as guilt and anger. I am guilty because I can't do anything to save the person. I'm angry at myself. It's illogical. If you really look at it, it's completely illogical. But it's logical enough to her emotions to make her drained and unhappy. So each of us have a shadow from our past, and sometimes we are very, very resistant to seeing it because we make up all kinds of narratives in our mind to convince ourselves it doesn't exist. Like I gave you that example of a person with great arrogance. The shadow could be a sense of abysmal inferiority, but the person could have made up a big narrative in his mind about being arrogant and superior and all. Then he can't work with the shadow because he's not only conscious of it. Could be a possibility. Whatever I'm saying are not sweeping statements. I'm not saying everyone arrogant, but these are possibilities. So now what Jung is saying, the shadow is not evil. It is unlived life, so beautiful. So when that feeling of inferiority arose, maybe when you were 5 years old, when others were given more importance than you in school, or your parents expressed disapproval, whatever, that inferiority rose, and you have sort of figured out that it's not good to show that you're feeling inferior, and it's not even good to feel it. So you suppress that inferiority, you don't live it out. So that's what Carl Jung is saying. The shadow is not evil, it's not bad, it is unlived life. It's emotion that you've not allowed yourself to feel. The shadow is a moral problem and challenges the whole ego personality. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. The shadow is not what makes us bad, it is what we refuse to see. The shadow is not bad. That feeling of inferiority, for example, isn't bad. But what's not useful for us is not allowing ourselves to see it and feel it. What we deny gains power. What a masterful statement. If we deny this feeling inside us, for example, the arrogant person goes on saying, no, I'm superior, and denies the feeling of inferiority, that's what gains power. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. We've discussed this. The less you see it in your waking state, the more it's controlling you from the subconscious mind. Ignored shadow doesn't disappear. It waits and then acts through us. Are we all together? Any questions so far? Okay, projection, how we avoid ourselves. Everything that irritates us about others can lead to an understanding of ourselves. So Carl Jung is so brilliant. If you really look at what the really mystic psychologists have said, it's so close to what Mother says. So Carl Jung is saying that if something in someone really irritates you, for example, I see jealousy in someone and it really irritates me, I can be sure that jealousy is part of my shadow. Because I'm not acknowledging it in myself, I get very irritated when I see it in someone else. So a young boy once told me about his friend, that my friend is so gay phobic, he gets so irritated when he sees people who are gay, that maybe he's a little gay himself, but he doesn't want to acknowledge it. But it's a thought. Maybe sometimes the very gay phobic people are people who are suppressing a tendency. This is just an example, but just like that, maybe what really irritates us in others is triggering a raw nerve in us, the shadow part of us which we are not willing to see. And Mother says that. She said the same thing in different words. We've all read it, that if something about someone really annoys you, you can be sure that you have that quality even in a seed form in you. If not, it wouldn't annoy you so much. So to recognize your shadow, you have to ask yourself, what is it in others that really irritates me? So everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. One doesn't become enlightened. Oh, this is a beautiful, very oft quoted sentence by Carl Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but making the darkness conscious. You don't become enlightened by just visualizing figures of light. That has its place. But you cannot get enlightened till you've brought light to your darkness. This is perhaps Jung's most quoted and most misunderstood line. He did not mean glorifying darkness, but seeing it clearly, because the moment you see it clearly, It's no longer darkness. The shadow includes virtues too. This may surprise many people. The shadow is not always an opponent. In some cases, it contains seeds of creative life. So for example, there was a person Jung quoted who was a very successful corporate guy, but he came to Jung feeling very lifeless and dead. And when Jung asked him, what is it that you really wanted to do as a child? He said, I wanted to be a musician, but I had to earn a livelihood, etc. So I discontinued my music. So his shadow was suppressing his creative urge to be practical, because maybe his parents told him, no, you can't be successful as a musician, give it up. So Jung is saying your shadow is not always something dark. It also could be your light that you're suppressing, your creativity, your capacity to romance. Romance is not just with a partner. Beautiful people are people who romance life. The real seers are great romantics. They are always romancing life. But if I've been disappointed in romance and I've been told it's impractical to be romantic, then my shadow could be suppressed romance. And suppressed romance is suppressed creativity, suppressed spontaneity, so much we suppress. So, the shadow includes virtues too. This surprises many people. The shadow is not always an opponent. In some cases, it contains seeds of creative life. What we repress is not only anger or envy, but strength, assertiveness, erotic vitality, originality. Moral effort, not purity. Jung distrusted purity when it came cheaply. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. Another famous quote of Jung, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. And Savitri Sri Aurobindo writes the same thing. None can reach heaven who hasn't been through hell. Working with the shadow means giving up innocence, means giving up pretending to, it's an oft quoted thing. Just this morning when I was doing this work in my class, one person told me that I was a very naughty boy and I was constantly beaten by my parents and told I was good for nothing. So my shadow became, I'm not worth it, I'll never achieve, and I'm not good for anything. And then of course he became a very successful man later. So he said, but now it doesn't matter, because now that I've succeeded, my parents and all know I'm worthwhile. So I said, really? But you never feel worthless ever? So he said, I feel worthless very often, because at office people may say many good things about me, but at home if anyone says the slightest thing, that childhood pattern comes back. So it's not, so he told me now I'm successful, I've put it behind me, my parents also say I'm very good, but we haven't put it behind me. We say time heals, but time heals if we recognize the past. If we just suppress it and bury it, it's not going to completely heal with time. So, integration, not elimination. This is crucial. The goal of psychological development is not eradication of the shadow, but its integration. We don't want to get rid of that inadequate self or that arrogant self. We have to integrate it into our being. And integration means, first of all, we acknowledge it. We stop sweeping it under the carpet. We stop making it wrong. For many of us, if we look back on our childhood, sometimes we don't want to be with that child because we've judged that child as not good, not adequate, ugly. I don't want to go there. Now I've become this beautiful self. I don't want to touch that ugly thing in me. But unless you touch it, you won't see its beauty. So again, I'm not making sweeping statements. It may not apply to all of us, it may apply to some of us. So integration and not elimination. The goal of psychological development is not the eradication of the shadow, but its integration. Integration means recognizing it, taking responsibility for it, not letting it possess you. So suppose I gave you that example. Suppose my shadow is feeling violated when somebody tells me I'm wrong. Suppose that is my shadow. So when that violation comes up, to take responsibility for it is to recognize that there's nobody to blame. I'm blaming the husband, mother-in-law, whoever. But no, let me wait. This is my shadow self coming up. Instead of passing the buck on to them, let me sit with my inner child. And the shadow is often integrated into a child who we haven't allowed full life. We haven't allowed that child to live inside us. So it's about my inner child. So instead of passing the buck to them, it's better to sit with myself and integrate that shadow into my being. Recognizing it, taking responsibility, not letting it possess you. It possesses you when I'll start shouting, when I'll start blaming, when I'll start trying to convince the person, no, I'm not wrong. How dare you make me wrong? You're wrong. Then the shadow is controlling me and I'm not taking responsibility for it. If consciousness and light is not brought into the subconscious, then there can be no change. Every time you work with the shadow in the subconscious, you're bringing light and consciousness to it. Then there's real change. For it is in the subconscious that there are seeds of, this is Sri Aurobindo's words, not Carl Jung. But you see how similar all words of truth are. Sri Aurobindo is saying that if consciousness and light is not brought into the subconscious, then there can be no change. For it is in the subconscious that there are seeds of all the old lower vital instincts and movements. And however much they may be cleared in the lower vital itself, they may sprout up again from below. Also, the subconscious is the secret basis of bodily consciousness. The physical body, its basis is the subconscious. The subconscious must admit into itself the higher consciousness and truth light. The subconscious must admit into itself, you can come here, higher consciousness and truth life. Now this is Sri Aurobindo again, Letters on Yoga. First effects of the light penetrating and changing the subconscious. If we've really brought the light into the subconscious, he says these are the effects. Number one, the subconscious begins to show more easily what is in it. That means the shadow becomes more visible to you. For example, I have that same argument, somebody is making me wrong and my shadow self is feeling, how dare they? You'll start becoming aware, no, I don't need to scream. They are not wrong. It's my shadow self. There'll be a memory, you'll bring consciousness to the shadow. Things rising from there come to the awareness of the mind before they can touch or affect the consciousness. 3, the subconscious becomes less the refuge of the ignorant and obscure movements and more an automatic response of the material to higher consciousness. If we clear our subconscious of darkness, obviously we are making more space for the light, and that is Mother's work. So beautiful in Savitri, there's a line, in the core of darkness she dug wells of light. What is this darkness? It's our subconscious, and it's the Mother's work to dig wells of light in the core of darkness. It gives less covert and less passage to suggestions of the hostile forces. We are always played by hostile forces, and the forces largely come to us when we are unconscious through our subconscious. If our subconscious is more open to light, hostile forces won't be able to enter us through it. It is more easy, 5, it is more easy to be conscious in sleep. Conscious sleep, Mother has written a whole thing about the yoga of sleep, how to make your sleep conscious. Because when we sleep, typically we descend into the subconscious. So, very often we sleep quite well. When many people say, I wake up with a pain in my neck, I wake up with this, because that's when the subconscious is throwing out its poisons. So, if I make my sleep conscious, then instead of descending into the subconscious, I'll go to higher regions. And a sign of conscious sleep is lucid dreaming. When you're aware that you're dreaming, do you lucid dream? But that's what this generation is born very special. What we have struggled to achieve, these kids naturally have. That's why it's so important to nurture them. They are getting lost to the unfortunate influences of media and all, but they've come with something so special to save our world. So, lucid dreaming is conscious sleep, which is you know you're dreaming, and if you want, you can change the direction of your dream.
I have a question about lucid dreaming because it was a concept I didn't know till
Yeah.
I was told about it.
Can you speak into this, please?
My question about lucid dreaming was, what's the purpose? Is there a purpose to lucid dreaming? Is it tiring for the person who's lucid dreaming?
Look back, I did 2-3 talks on yoga of sleep. If you hear them, you'll get your answers. But in brief, as I said at the beginning, we are a whole spectrum. Vibgeo is the waking state, infrared is the subconscious. So we are this whole spectrum of superconscious, waking, subconscious, and we exist in many planes of being. Now you dream in a particular plane of being, and if you're in that sense waking state awareness is awake in that, you're building a bridge between your waking state plane and that plane. If you forget your dreams when you wake up, there's no bridge built between the two planes. Now you can work on a plane when you can consciously go to it. So lucid dreaming gives us access to the different planes on which we exist. And if we are conscious in our sleep, we are automatically going to be more conscious in our waking state. And another thing is also true. The more conscious I am in my waking state, only then I'll be conscious in my sleep state. I can't be conscious in my sleep state if the whole day I've spent unconsciously. So if you can lucid dream, you're probably very conscious in your waking state also. So, it is more easy to be conscious in sleep and to have higher forms of dream experience. Hostile dreams, example sex suggestions, can be met and stopped in the dream itself, and any result can be prevented. 6. A waking will put on the dream state before sleeping becomes more and more effective. So, if the light has gone to your subconscious, then whatever you will before sleeping, it actually happens. So, for example, if you will that I want to sleep consciously and I want to remember my dreams when I wake up, if the superconscious light has gone down to the subconscious, then your will be very strong. It will happen. Or for example, if I want to wake up at 5 o'clock without an alarm clock, and I put a will that I will wake up at 5 o'clock. Sometimes if your subconscious is open to light, it will exactly wake you up at 5. Or I had one girl in standard 10 who had the problem of gritting her teeth a lot, and I told her before sleep, and it was giving her dental issues, so I told her before sleeping, just speak to your subconscious mind, tell it that please keep my jaws relaxed through the night and don't let me grit my teeth. And she said she actually didn't. So subconscious mind can be spoken to and it can be used to your advantage, and whatever you think of last thing before sleeping has very deep grooves into your subconscious mind. Therefore, put your screens away 1 hour before sleeping, because if you're going to see all this agitation that you see on screens and then sleep, that's where you'll go in your subconscious mind at night. Oh, another example comes to mind. Much earlier in my life, when I lost a very dear friend of mine, immediately after her moving on, every night she used to come to me in my dreams. And I would see things like, we are having a great time together, then she's telling me, now it's time, I have to go. And I was going crazy when I woke up, because I was as it is grieving and these dreams weren't making it easy. So after 5-6 days of dreams like this, I told my subconscious mind that I can't take it, please stop these dreams. And then it stopped coming. Now of course I have a regret. If I was what I am now, maybe she was coming to me for help in my dreams and I could have helped her, but that time I wasn't equipped, so it was the best I could do. So now Sri Aurobindo's words, as there is a superconscious, something above our present consciousness, something, a superconscious, a part of light which we are not conscious of, above the head from which the higher consciousness comes down into the body, so there is also a subconscious, something below consciousness, below the feet. Now I was reading Jung, it's amazing how both of them are saying the same thing. Jung also says the subconscious is below your feet, and Sri Aurobindo is saying the same thing here. Matter, subconscious and inconscient both. He has said subconscious, I'm quoting Sri Aurobindo. Yeah, so he's saying, so there is also a subconscious, something below our consciousness, below our feet, letters of yoga. Matter is under the control of this power because it is that out of which it has been created. That is why matter seems to us to be quite unconscious. The material body is very much under the influence of this power for some reason. That is why the subconscious is the seed of all our illnesses, the seeds of anything that makes us sick. The rhizome, the eternal seed of transient things, it's in our subconscious mind. So the material body is very much under the influence of this power for the same reason. It is why we are not conscious of what is going on in the body for the most part, because the body is very enmeshed into our subconscious. So we are not aware of what's going on in our body, whereas there are yogis who know exactly where their liver is, they can control the functioning of the heart. So they brought great consciousness to the subconscious in the body. The outer consciousness goes down into the subconscious when we are asleep, and so it becomes unaware of what is going on in us when we are asleep, except for a few dreams. Many of these dreams rise up from the subconscious, and are made up of old memories, impressions, etc., put together in an incoherent way. For the subconscious receives impressions of all we do or experience in our lives and keeps these impressions in it, sending up often fragments of them in sleep. It is very important, it is a very important part of the being, but we can do nothing much with it by the conscious will. It is the high, now this is where Sri Aurobindo is unique from anyone else, because Mother and Sri Aurobindo have brought down the supramental force, which is the direct power of the superconscious, and that is the one power which can really act on the subconscious. So it is the higher force working in us that in its natural course will open the subconscious to itself and bring down into its control, its control and light. This is Letters on Yoga, page 1597. Further, this is again Letters on Yoga by Sri Aurobindo. He's telling a sadhak, as for the mood that came on you, it comes up from the subconscious. We discussed when we have a gloomy mood that seizes us, the mother says it's subconscious pessimism. And sometimes if you recognize that, you get less controlled by it. Otherwise, you're thinking, oh, I'm feeling gloomy because this one said this, that one said this. But if you just recognize that it's subconscious pessimism coming up, when its season is spent, it will pass. I don't have to tie myself up into knots trying to make it go. As for the mood that came on you, it comes up from the subconscious, where things of the old nature sink when they are rejected. Again, similar to what Jung is saying, unlived life is your shadow. Unprocessed emotions become part of your shadow, where things of old nature sink when they are rejected. When moods come up like that, you have to remain quiet and call the mother till it's gone. So this is a trump card Sri Aurobindo has given us. Freud and Jung, of course, give various methods which are successful to an extent. But when we have the mother, it becomes so simple. If you recognize that it's something arising from the subconscious, and you really offer it to her light, it's so magical what happens. So you have to remain quiet and call the mother till it's gone. After a time, this power of mechanical repetition without what mechanical repetition? Repetition of what? This subconscious pessimism, which just keeps repeating itself. After a time, this power of mechanical repetition without reason from the subconscious gets worn out and disappears. Then these moods come no more. It is probably from the subconscious, Sri Aurobindo says, when these memories arise, they should be treated on the basis that they have arisen in order to be dissolved and dismissed. So sometimes we suddenly remember very dark, unhappy memories. So Sri Aurobindo says you should recognize that they've come from the subconscious in order to be dissolved and dismissed, so that by their persistent dissolution, one may not be tied to the impressions in the subconscious to the past. That is the machinery of karma. So we've often discussed that karma is nothing but unresolved past. Do you understand that? The past which you've not resolved comes up again and again as karma. For example, that shadow self which, for example, is feeling very violated when somebody tells me I'm wrong. So because in the past I haven't allowed myself to feel out properly the emotion of helplessness, anger, whatever, because I've diverted it into getting into a quarrel with somebody or fighting instead of feeling out the emotion, That is unresolved past. And any unresolved past becomes a seed for a future event to come to you, which will bring out the same pattern. See, karma is not to punish you, karma is to heal you. If there's an unhealed past in you, life will give you the same trigger again and again till you heal. It's not there to punish you, it's there to heal you.
It's like building up a capacity. So once you build a capacity, then the thing will not trouble you.
Once you understand it, once a pain arises and you understand its context, you understand its origin instead of dumping it onto somebody else or circumstances, and you feel, and sometimes actually we'll do this together at the end, because these are things you only understand through experience, but to experience it properly, theory is important. So we'll understand the theory and then we'll collectively work with it at the end. So karma is unresolved past. Anything from your past which you haven't fully felt out, lived, transcended, comes out as karma. So Rishi Patanjali in his aphorisms writes, Heyam dukkham anagatam. If you resolve pain when it comes, you avoid future pain from coming. Heyam dukkham. This is the way. Heyam dukkham, pain, anagatam. You prevent it from coming. So, he's saying that they have arisen in order to be dissolved and dismissed, so that by their persistent dissolution, one may not be tied to the impressions in the subconscious to the past. That is the machinery of karma. Karma is unresolved past, but free for the spirit's unbound future. The best is when you can get the true knowledge about it. This is what he's saying, what I just said in my simple words, in his profound words. The best is when you can get the true knowledge about it, why it happened, and what purpose it served. Then it goes easily. So he's also in a way inviting us to work with our shadow. So now, this is a bit of a detour from our topic, but I liked it so much and it's so relevant to most of us and our fear of illness that I included it. But keep in mind it's a detour from our topic. This is by K.D. Setna, who lived in the time of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, very, very close to them. So he says, I'm still not through with the second spell of heart trouble. He had heart trouble. The first was in June 1938, owing to a gigantic overdose of a stimulant tonic powder. This time it is a strain of the heart muscle. The doctors have advised complete rest in a supine position. Not even the head is to be lifted. They also warn me that if I don't take extreme care, I may develop more serious trouble. But I feel full of your presence. He's writing to Mother, but I feel full of your presence and do what my suddenly and abundantly released poetic inspiration. He was a brilliant poet, somebody that who even Sri Aurobindo acknowledged as really he was sourcing his poetry from somewhere else. Abundantly released poetic inspiration leads me to do. I sit up frequently, get excited with the passage of poems through me, especially when the lines seem to be coming from wide, far off spaces, and my heart starts beating fast at that time. And if the doctors could then put their stethoscopes to my chest, they would begin to shake their heads at the prospect of a quick cure. But I am unconcerned. I trust implicitly in your power and feel like laughing away the black future with which they, that is the doctors, of course with the best intentions and for my own good, threaten me in case of carelessness about my heart. I feel certain, Mother dearest, the divine power can help, can't it? So doctors have said various things, but he with a childlike faith is laughing at what they've said. He doesn't believe it. So Mother says, my dear child, I quite agree with you that there is a power other and much more powerful than that of the doctors and the medicines. And I'm glad to see that you put your trust in it. Surely it will lead you through all difficulties and in spite of all catastrophic warnings. Keep your faith intact and all will be all right. And it obviously was, because Amal Kiran or KD Setna lived to be more than 100, I think 106, 103. He lived to be 103 and he was diagnosed with heart trouble years and years ago. So yeah, so this was just a side. I also feel that sometimes when doctors tell us all this, it feeds our subconscious pessimism and we mustn't let that happen. So this is another passage by KD Setna. Saturday 7th, last night, I had a dream in which I was telling the mother that I must get poised above the mind and in the psychic. So in the dream, he's telling the mother, I want to be stationed above my head and in my psychic. At the staircase, I related my dream to her. She said, I see. Then I told her, I need this very badly. I saw this in my dream and I need this very badly. You must make me poised like that. She replied, no, you must make yourself poised. You have read in Sri Aurobindo that he does not encourage laziness. I said, yes, but can't I keep asking that you should do it? Isn't that genuine aspiration? She answered, yes, you can ask, but not in the ordinary way. If you just get up in the morning and ask once and then nothing more, that won't do. It must be an intense inner asking. I agreed with her. She smiled and kept looking into my eyes with those wonderful, heart-opening, head-cleaving. You can see his poetry, like her eyes are like cleaving his head with those wonderful, heart-opening, head-cleaving eyes of hers. So I included this because we've discussed the shadow and the subconscious. But the superconscious is the psychic and the overhead and the connection between them. And we call it down with aspiration. And what Mother is saying is, she's telling Amal Kiran, somebody who was full of aspiration and who was so close to her, that your aspiration has to be intense, constant and inner. You can't just tell me once I want this, then live your life how you want and forget all about it. It has to be an intense inner calling, then the light comes. So further, Amal Kiran's words only. One day, on Sunday 8th, the book says, I felt myself to be at my wit's end. Never in all these days was the morning so filled with a sense of hopelessness. Will I ever be able to keep up the decision I've taken? Am I not made up of putty? Have I any strength or stability to go through the yoga? Again, echoes of subconscious pessimism. All these questions weighed on my mind and heart and made me sad and threw an atmosphere of futility over my efforts. Then when everything seemed lost, something happened. I went and sat in the pranam hall, waiting for the mother to come down. She came, and slowly my heart began to open. It started flowing with love and blessedness, I got up to do my pranam, and after doing it went to my precious place near the mother's chair. She had placed the divine solicitude. It's a flower. Mother used to give names to flowers. So a flower called divine solicitude. Imagine every vibration seemed to need mother. What Amal Kiran needed the most was solicitude of the divine. And she placed that flower. She placed the divine solicitude in my left hand and a red rose in my right. More and more the heart widened. So mother used to often give blessings through flowers. She used to gauge your state of being, and whatever vibration you needed, she used to give through flowers. So more and more the heart widened and took the mother in, and I threw my being towards her. It seemed the beginning of what I had asked for all these days. The flow and consecration continued right through the pranam and persisted when I went up the staircase and met the mother again. She appeared to recognize the change and stood gazing into my eyes. The change accompanied me to Sri Aurobindo's room. I nowadays sit there as long as I wish. Today I must have sat for nearly half an hour. And throughout that half hour, the heart and mind kept open and lived in the mother's marvelous presence and Sri Aurobindo's exalted aura. The harbour seemed within sight of this wave-tossed, wind-vexed marina at last. But all is not done yet. The opening must continue and increase. So I chose this passage because it shows the direct effect of the superconscient on the subconscient. He was feeling all the negative feelings, and maybe it was from his vital, we don't know where it was from, but he just went to the mother and she did everything else. That's what we need to do. Now you may say, oh, but he had her physically. But in some sense, we are even more luckier, because mother has said that after I've left my body, I'm even more present in your midst. And if you have a sincere call, I'm always there. That's why she has said, no, every sincere prayer is answered. But am I sincere in my call? When I'm with my shadow, am I really sincere in wanting to give it to the light? Or am I so comfortable with my shadow that a part of me is holding on to it because it gives me my identity? So, now this is from The Basis of Yoga by Sri Aurobindo. The inner spiritual progress does not depend on outer conditions so much as on the way we react to them from within. That has always been the ultimate verdict of spiritual experience. Very important line. Spiritual progress is not about what happens to us, but the way we respond to it. We keep coming back to that analogy. If I squeeze Karela juice will come out. If I squeeze a mango juice will come out. Finally, when difficulties come and we get squeezed, the juice we are holding inside us comes out. If we've done enough work on ourselves to convert the bitter Karela juice to mango juice, however much life squeezes us, only sweetness will come out, only light will come out. So that's what he's saying. Work on yourself. Don't blame circumstances. You have it in you, so the circumstances brought it out. But if you change what's inside you, circumstances will bring out another response.
Real difficulty is in ourselves, not in our surroundings.
Yes.
That is what
Yes. That's what he's saying here. That the inner spiritual progress does not depend on outer conditions so much as on the way we react to them from within. That has always been the ultimate verdict of spiritual experience. It is why we insist on taking the right attitude and persisting in it on an inner state not dependent on outer circumstances, a state of equality and calm. If it cannot be at once of inner happiness, on going more and more within and looking from within outwards instead of living in the surface mind, which is always at the mercy of the shocks and blows of life. It is only from the inner state that one can be stronger than life and its disturbing forces and hope to conquer. There was a beautiful line in Savitri. Calm is the victory of the self. Calm is self's victory overcoming fate. So beautiful. Calm is the spirit's or self's victory overcoming fate. So when fate pushes us into something negative, if we are really with the self, the calm of the self will be the response instead of agitation. Calm is self's victory overcoming fate. It's a mantra. It's something we can just keep chanting. It is only from that inner state that one can be stronger than life and its disturbing forces and hope to conquer. A spiritual atmosphere is more important than outer conditions. If one can get that and also create one's own spiritual air to breathe, if we have a constant inflow of, metaphorically, the mango juice, the sweetness, that creates an atmosphere of sweetness around us. So if one can get that and also create one's own spiritual air to breathe in and live in it, that is the true condition of progress. Now we end with few beautiful lines from Savitri. So page 346. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour. Now Sri Aurobindo used to say, I'm not a philosopher, I'm a seer. What I see, I write. So he had actually seen all this. He's not just saying it. It's his promise to us about the future that is to come. So he's saying, a seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour. Death represents unconsciousness, darkness. So a seed of light shall be sown in death's tremendous hour. A branch of heaven transplant to human soil. It's so beautiful. It's like if I want a tree which is growing in China to grow in India, I'll transplant a branch of it from China to India. But here in the metaphor, he's saying, I'll take a branch of a tree from heaven and transplant it on earth. And he's kept, that promise has been kept. Mother is literally that, a branch from a heavenly tree being transplanted on earth. A branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. Mother will be the unchanging will that will change the fate of humanity. And nature shall overleap a mortal step. Right now nature is walking the footsteps of mortal. But mother's work is to make nature overleap a mortal step. Mortal step is limited. But when mother changes us, our mortal step will be overleaped. So a seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour. A branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. And then again on page 41 he writes, all was made wide above, all lit below. In darkness's core, here's that line, in darkness's core she dug out wells of light. So beautiful, gives us so much hope. All was made wide above, all lit below. In darkness's core she dug out wells of light. So this was all theory. Now coming to the practice of working with our shadow. So I'll outline the process for you because I don't want you to have confusion about it, and then I'll guide you through it. So first we'll be quiet, and first we'll recognize what is the shadow unique to us. What is our unique negative emotional habit? What is a way of being that keeps pulling us into a hole again and again? Can each of us identify that? Any questions? Everyone's identified it?
In integral yoga, concentration is very important.
No, don't go into all that.
It's
Just,
a positive thing.
yeah. Right
So
now,
it will remove the negativity.
don't go into all that. Just let's stay with the process. Yes?
There are multiple pessimistic thoughts.
Yeah.
How should I identify?
So that's a very good question, Avisha. Your shadow will sometimes be an amalgam of many emotions, but it will have a flavor. It will have one emotional flavor which is, I don't like to feel it. It pulls me down. And it will be a familiar negative emotional flavor. Do you understand? And it might be an amalgam of many emotions. So identify it. Amy identified? Can you identify the last time you felt low?
Yeah.
Can you identify the emotions in it?
Yeah.
Okay. Stay with that. Now we go back to the last time we felt those emotions. And typically, the eternal seed of transient things, the seed will very often be in our childhood. So we try to recollect the first memory where we felt it. It could be in school when classmates excluded us. It could be at home when our parents criticized us. Or it could be at home when our parents were fighting and I felt that helpless, overwhelmed feeling. It could be anything. But you try to locate the first time this kind of emotional feeling came up. We call that the inner child. The inner child which hasn't lived its life in us and so is arising again and again to poison our present moment. So this practice is also called healing the inner child. So you go back to the first moment you felt it and you wait. You allow yourself to feel the pain of that inner child. Why that inner child is unhealed is to survive, that child had to suppress its emotion. It was legitimate. It had no other option. But now you're equipped. You're equipped to feel the pain of the inner child. So you allow yourself to feel that pain, and then if it was a memory concerning your parents, which many times it is, because the best of parents are unconscious sometimes and the child bears the burden of that unconsciousness. So it's not about blaming your parents. They did the best they could given their level of evolution. It's about healing yourself. Forget blaming your parents. So if it is about a parent, then you sit with that inner child and you reparent. The current you becomes a parent to that inner child. You converse with that inner child. You tell it, I'm there for you, I'm feeling your pain, I'm hearing you, I'm seeing you. Then you offer that child to the light inside you or to the mother and you send it metta. That's largely the process. Are we clear about the process? Now let's do it. So sit straight. And first let's call on the mother, because it's only the light of the superconscious that she brings down that is strong enough to deal with the darkness of the subconscious. So first pray to her. There's a beautiful line in a poem by Sri Aurobindo, redeem my sullied centuries. Sullied are dirtied, well, dirtied in the sense filled with pain. So the devotee in the poem is praying to God, redeem my sullied centuries. So that can be our prayer. Maybe I'm carrying pain from many lifetimes, not just this. And I'm praying to the Mother, redeem my sullied centuries. And then, equipped with the Mother's light, I confront my shadow self. I've identified it, and I go back to a childhood memory when I felt it, when it arose in me. I time travel back to the past, and I allow myself to feel the pain of the child. The mind will try its best to distract me, saying, no, this is all over. Now I'm past it. Don't listen to the mind. If pain keeps resurfacing, the inner child demands your healing. So go back to that child, sit with it. Feel the pain of that child, maybe when parents were quarreling, or when classmates said something mean, or a teacher ridiculed you, or whatever. Sit with that child and feel that child's pain. The founder of Gestalt therapy said, emotions are like crying babies. The more you shut them up, the louder they scream behind closed doors and come out as aches and pains and illnesses. If you just listen to them, like babies settle down when you listen to them, they'll settle down. So sit with the pain of that inner child, listen to it, converse with it. I'm here, I'm seeing you. I wasn't that equipped when you had that pain, but I'm revisiting you well equipped. I can be the parent to you that maybe you didn't have in that moment. I am here for you. And just spend a minute or so listening to the pain of the inner child. Sometimes that pain will come out as a physical sensation somewhere in the body. If you go deeply into that memory, sometimes you feel a discomfort in your belly or chest or head or wherever. If that happens, put your hand on it. Touch that physical sensation of pain with your hands. If it doesn't arise as a physical sensation, just be with the emotional pain. If tears come, don't hold back. Whatever is natural, let it come. None can reach heaven who hasn't been through hell. And the tears are coming as we sit in her lap here. So it's okay to let them come. Now, of course, this is just beginning. If it's a very deep-rooted thing, my suggestion is to do this every day for 21 days. But today can be a good beginning for it. Now you offer that pain to the mother, to the light in your heart. And feeling her presence in your heart, the light in your heart, you send that past child love from your heart. Maybe for some of us, when we look at that past child, we want to look away because we find that child ugly, we find a recoil. Not for all of us, some of us. But if that happens, look again with eyes that are beautiful. Look at how resilient, beautiful, pure that child actually is. Feel a softness towards that child, and with the love in your heart, send it metta. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. And one last time, on your own, these sentences ending in well, happy, peaceful, and free. And come back to your heart space. Always good to end seeing the mother smiling in your heart, telling you that everything each of us went through was part of a larger plan. I went through darkness only to discover light with a greater splendor. I didn't go through the pain because I was bad or life was bad, but it was just part of the greater plan. And through it all, she's been in charge, always in charge. And fold your hands together in a namaste. Thumbs resting on the chest. Take a long, slow inhalation. Breathe out with Om.